Good evening. Good evening. FPL's back, baby. Oh. Let's see if everything's up and running. Live on Twitch. Perfect. And live over on YouTube. So, today's stream is a bit scuffed. I mean, this entire FPL preseason has been a bit scuffed, so if you're watching this, thank you. I was supposed to make content this week, but a thing got pushed up, right? So, I was supposed to do a pretty large job next week, like Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. And instead, I had to get home early from my vacation and do it this week because the deadline changed. So I've had no time, unfortunately. I wanted to make some content this week, leading up into it, talking about my team, but I realized I haven't really, revealed my team at all. So that's what we're doing today. We're going to reveal my team. I'm going to talk about each pick, and then if there are people in chat after that, I'll take some questions in general. But yeah, if you haven't subscribed, make sure you do so. If you haven't liked the stream, make sure you do so. Down in the description, there's a link, or I think it's just a code to my league if you want to join that. But I'm going to reveal my team one by one, talk about each pick, why I've picked them, if they're 100% a lock, if they've been a lock for a long time, or if I'm still, iffy on the position. In addition to, some picks I wish I could have had, but it's not including right now. So the premise of my team is to wildcard in Game Week 8. That's the plan. So Game Week 8 is an international break, and since you get 5 free transfers in Game Week 16 for AFCON, which is like a half wildcard in a way, Game Week 8 feels like the perfect time to wildcard. Now, granted, if my team starts out completely awfully, I might wildcard in the first break. But I've built a team to last me 7 weeks, hopefully without making too many transfers, trying to pick as nailed-on players as possible. You'll see that there are some omissions in this team that are very popular in the community and very, very popular in the overall picks. But I've mainly tried to. I've gone for a few things, a few outliers for sure. But, and you'll see I have a few picks in here that are very low owned. So it's not all meta, but I've tried to pick players that I think will get consistent minutes and try to avoid unknowns. So the plan is to get through 7 game weeks with making as few transfers as possible and just see where the team is then, and then wildcarding Game Week 8. So I've been looking at that fixture run, and that's also why I haven't included a couple of players. So, Atar, going to be my FPL guide now. Well, I'm going to try to be a good FPL content creator. Again, if you missed it at the start of the stream, I just said that I was supposed to make content this week, but a big job that I had to go on. I was supposed to go there Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday next week, and then get back to FPL F1 content. But this week, it got pushed forward, so I had to do it this week, which means I've had no time. I had to get home early from my vacation by a day as well to have time to do it, so it's rough. Hi Rain, how are we were to be watching you on FPL. Yeah, it's a bit weird, but I mean, I've been playing this game longer than I've been playing F1 Fantasy. This is the game that got me into fantasy sports in general. So, and I have a pretty good record in terms of rank, for sure. Last year I was top 10k until the final 4 weeks. I had a really bad final 3-4 game weeks, so I fell down to 30k, which is really unfortunate. But my highest ever FPL rank was now 3 years ago. I finished in I think it's 4,000 something, 4,100 I think. So I've been top 5k once, top 10k twice, and I've been top 50k the last 5 years. So in terms of content, what you can expect next week, since I don't have that job, I'm gonna have infinite time, so I'll probably do a deadline stream next week. We'll see what happens, but yeah, I mean, I'm called Rain Fantasy, right? I'm not Rain F1, so it's a fantasy channel, and this is a fantasy game I really enjoy. So if you want to see more FPL stuff, let me know. subscribe to the channel, like the stream, and again, I apologize there hasn't been content this week. That's just what happens sometimes with real life getting in the way. Without further ado, let's get into what my actual picks are. And no pointing at deadline stream next week. We're all rolling. You are not wrong, Nixie. You're not wrong. Welcome to the stream, everyone, by the way. So, let's start revealing some players, right? What's up, Celtic? What's up? Let's start with... So this is on the transfers page because I'm going to reveal all 15 players here, including my bench. What do you think about Salah versus Haaland? I think it's closer than people make it out to be. I think Salah's more popular for a reason. But I think you should have either of them. I've not really been a fan of the drafts going without both. Recover from my rib, all good. So just warm here in January. I've seen the heat. The heat looks bad. It's really warm here. I'm sweating properly here, but it's not as bad as it is in Germany. You saw Max build his FPL team. I did not see that. Please link me that. I would love to watch that after the deadline. All right. So Nixie's guessing Dubravka and Sanchez. I'm gonna say that you are incorrect on both of the players. Let's start with the first one. Oops. Can I do it? Yeah, there you go. So the first player on my draft is not Sanchez, it's Sels. So, wow, you can't see anything here. Matt Sels. Now, Nottingham Forest, great opening run of fixtures. I should actually have a different page prepared so I can flip over and talk about it without revealing my team. Hold up. Something like... this, right? So, Nottingham Forest. Where are they? I can't click them here. I want to do this without revealing my team. Alright, whatever. Well, I'll go... I guess I'll go more in depth. I'll reveal them first and then talk about them, okay? Damn, not even Dubravka. Everyone has him. And I'll explain why in a second, right? So, the reason I don't have Dubravka... Actually, let's do that. I will reveal both the goalkeeper. I'll reveal my team, and then I'll talk about the players, okay? Because otherwise, I haven't set this up super well. Okay? Sorry for hitting the mic, by the way. Yeah, so I'm not sure Dubravka starts the first week. My two goalkeepers are... Matt Sells and Areola. Now, from that, you might begin to figure out what I'm doing with this team. Because as you can see, I've spent 9.5 million on the goalkeepers. So, I'm doing Matt Sells over Sanchez for a few reasons. I'm doing Matt Sells because he's really good last year. I think Forest defense is going to continue being strong. I think it's their attack that's going to struggle, if anything. And they have really good opening fixtures for the first 7. So, I know Chelsea also have that. And Sanchez was my second option. But for reasons that we'll get to in a minute... I just slightly edged Sells over Sanchez. But I do think Sells and Sanchez were the two players I was choosing from. Then Areola with a 4.5 keeper that's actually playing and not a regular 4 million. If I'd gone for a 4 million keeper, it would not have been Dubravka. It would have been a goalkeeper that would never play. And that's because I don't think Dubravka is going to start early. And I think for that reason, casuals will sell him. And Nixie has figured it out. Planning to bench boost then. Yes, I am planning... to pop the bench boost. That is my plan game week 1. I think it's a chip that's better to get rid of now, and I also like having options in terms of all 15 of my players are players that get good minutes. So if something happens, someone gets injured, I don't necessarily have to make a transfer, because the plan is to wildcard game week 8 and also save up transfers if possible during these first opening weeks. So sent you the reel with him picking the team Discord. Thank you, Celtic. I'll take a look at that after revealing my team. So, I am planning to pop the bench boost now, simply because I think I have a good team for it, and also having 15 players that actually play and get minutes is going to be good for the opening run of the season, I think. So, with that said, Areola is my pick for the bench boost keeper. I'm going to play Matt Sells most week, but Areola has a good fixture in the week where Matt Sells does not, which is like game week 4, I think. So, it is a bit different, and I do kind of like it. So let's talk about the defenders then. First defender on the list. Not a surprise. I think he's the most highly owned in the... Oh, I just revealed too much. Whoop. You saw nothing. You saw nothing. Don't go back. Don't go back. I accidentally scrolled. I did not mean to do that. Team selected by. Jesus Christ. Okay. Well, the new site is. This new site is so bad. Okay. Yeah. Konsa is the 4th highest owned defender. I can't believe Frimpong is the highest owned, by the way. Behind Van de Ven, Van Bissaka, and then Konsa. Now I have Konsa. Aston Villa's first 7 are really good. As he's also good offensively. Yeah, I'm surprised that Frimpong is I mean, I'm trying to avoid new signings. I have a few new signings in the team, but I want guaranteed minutes, and I'm not sure Frimpong is guaranteed the minutes just yet. I think he'll play mostly throughout the season. I think he's going to be a really good pick overall. I'm just not willing to start with him. But yeah, Konsa, he's on my bench. He's one of the reasons I'm bench boosting. I think Newcastle at home is a decent fixture. Isak is not playing. I don't know how good Newcastle are going to be this season with the turmoil that's going on there. They've not been able to sign a forward. So I think Konsa would have been on my bench if I had not bench boosted. But since he has a decent fixture at home, I'm okay with bench boosting him. Second defender is Joachim Andersen. Not that highly owned. I'm very surprised by this. He's only owned by 2.9% of players. I think that's absolutely crazy. I think he's a fantastic pick at 4.5 million. I have him over Van de Ven and Van Bissaka. You'll see why in a second. I do have coverage from those defenses. But Joachim Andersen, I mean, super nailed in terms of, the pick. His... I know you can't see everything here. I'm just doing it so I'm not lying to you in terms of fixtures. Fixtures aren't great, but the only real game week when I need him is game week 4, which is Leeds at home, which you can actually see on the screen here. So that's perfect. And then in this game week, he's playing against Brighton away, which is not awful. I don't have any Brighton coverage, spoiler, in the attack. So I just think, and he's really good for DEFCON points. Again, another 90-minute man. I'm really excited about Joachim Andersen. I don't think he's not a flashy pick by any means. And I just think, even with the fixtures, he's perfect to have on the bench for the entire run. If someone gets injured, I can play him. And then after 7 game weeks, he plays Arsenal and Newcastle. I'd be super down to sell him in game week 8 on the wild card. He's not owned by a lot of players, so he's not likely to drop in price. And I'm really interested in someone like Dorgu from Manchester United, repping it. But I want to see how Manchester United play before I commit to any Manchester United players, apart from Bruno Fernandes. So Joachim Andersen is in there for now. I think he's just a good, solid pick. He's also actually my benched player. So I've only revealed my 2 benched options for this week, but I am bench boosting, so I'm going to get the points from all of them. Planning to get him after his bad fixtures. I am having him now and just as like my 5th defender, essentially. Next up, Williams. Not a surprise. I'm doing double Forest defense. So I'm really betting on the Forest defense at the start of the season. Again, their fixtures are really good, with the only outlier being Arsenal away in game week 4. But like Brentford at home, Brentford don't have Wissa, don't have Mbuemo. They've signing Ouattara now, but will he start? I think Brentford attack is going to be pretty bad to start the season. Crystal Palace away is not fantastic, but then West Ham at home, Burnley away, Sunderland at home, and then Newcastle away. I can also bench him for. So I think Nottingham Forest have really good fixtures, and I'm willing to bet on the double up for this. Ideally, I would have had Milenkovic, but I had to go for the 5 million option in Nico Williams. I just cannot stretch an extra 4.5, and that's because I'm bench boosting. This would have been one of the positions where I might have upgraded to like a Milenkovic or a Murillo if I wasn't bench boosting and I could have a 4 million goalkeeper. But I don't trust Dubravka to start, so I don't want a 4 million as my second. I want a playing goalkeeper as my second goalkeeper because I am bench boosting. Next up, we have Pedro Porro. Not Van de Ven. I know Van de Ven is super popular. He's the second most common defender in the game. Pedro Porro is an absolute beast for attacking returns and DEFCON points, and then Spurs fixtures are insane. I can bench him against City away because my other defenders are so good. And then the rest of the fixtures that I'm playing him for: Burnley at home, Bournemouth at home, West Ham away, Brighton away, Wolves at home, Leeds away. Fantastic run of fixtures. Porro is an absolute monster for recoveries, for DEFCON points and attacking returns. I think he's by far the best option at 5.5 million. I don't even really think it's close. I'm surprised he's not 6 million, to be fair. And he is my premium defender of choice. So Pedro Porro is in my team. Next up, Diouf. So I'm not running a 6 million premium defender. And I think that's the biggest risk with this team. Because if someone like a Frimpong or an 8 Nuri or a Kukurea pops off, I'm going to really struggle to get them in. But I think I've conceded that I won't have a 6 million defender for the start of the season until I wildcard. And that gives me time to look and see which one is the best. This is me essentially just saying I don't want a 6 million defender yet. I had Van Dijk in here for a long time, but I decided to move him down to actually Joachim Andersen and thus give me more money to put in my attack. So let's see. Ravenko says, I'm not sure if I should bench boost my starting 11. The bench for this squad is decent with Dubravka, Bissaka, Mateta, Konsa. I definitely think that's good enough. I think the one problem there's Dubravka, but because I don't think he starts game week 1. Maybe he will, but I don't think so. I think Dubravka is the main problem there for actually a bench boost. If you could downgrade one of your starting players by 0.5 million and upgrade Dubravka, because that's essentially what I've done. I've downgraded one, and you'll see what I've done in the forward, in the midfield line. But I downgraded one of my options by 0.5 million to upgrade to a guaranteed starting 4.5 million keeper, which rotates pretty well with my 5 million keeper. I'll just show you here. So I'm super down with playing. Actually, it doesn't rotate too well because it's Tottenham at home in game week 4, but I still think it's good enough in game week 1 with Sunderland away. We can't see it, but with Sunderland away to play Alfonso Areola. I think he's the best option at 4.5 million for the bench boost, right? But yeah, if you think Dubravka's going to start, I would do it. But I mean, considering you have Mateta on the bench, Chelsea defense is not airtight by any means. Van Bissaka is playing Sunderland, and then Konsa. I'm bench boosting with Konsa, so I already think that's a good idea. All right, I'll talk more about defense in a minute. Let's move on to my midfielders. First pick, Palmer. Palmer is a player that has not left my starting lineup since I put him in. I can't remember if I had him in for the when the game launched stream. I don't remember if I had Palmer by then, but I really, really want Palmer, and I'm going to spoil something. I don't have João Pedro because I don't trust that he covers Palmer. Can João Pedro be a really good option throughout the season? Yes, but Palmer's just nailed. 90-minute man. Chelsea's fixtures are crazy, crazy good to start the season. Palace, West Ham, Fulham, Brentford, United, Brighton, Liverpool at home in 7, but I can transfer him out for that week if I want to before wildcarding. Palmer just looks really good, and I really wanted Palmer in there. So Palmer has not left my lineup. He's been a constant. In terms of my defense, Konsa has never left my lineup. Diouf I picked instead of Wan-Bissaka because I think he's a better pick, and I'm surprised that he's not as highly owned. He's only owned by 8. When I picked him up, he was 2% owned. He's 8% owned now. I do think Diouf is a better pick than Wan-Bissaka. Porro, Tarkovsky, I like Porro for attack, but Tarkovsky is better for DEFCON and plays for a better defense. I agree that Tarkovsky is better there, but I just think Porro is too good with the opening fixtures. If you can afford to bench him in week 2, that is, I think Porro has so much more attacking threat. And especially with the lineup that Thomas Frank employed versus PSG. If they continue playing that way, Porro is going to get a lot of chances this year. But yeah, Cole Palmer in my lineup, not a surprise, he's owned by a lot of people. Next up, surprisingly low ownership with only 5.4%. It's Ismaila Sarr. Now, here's one of the potential upgrades I could have done, right? I could have gone from a Sarr up to a Rodgers, if Rodgers looks likely to play. But I think Sarr is arguably the best pick at 6.5 million. Chelsea away, first game week, is actually the reason why I don't have Sanchez versus Sels, because I don't like betting against my own players. Sometimes you have to do that, but especially since I'm bench boosting first week and I can build my team however I want, it's kind of why I've gone for the Nottingham Forest keeper here. And decided to because I wanted Sarr. Sarr's, I don't know. I can't explain to you how good Ismaila Sarr is with words. I think the data speaks for itself. He is fantastic. I think by far, I think he's probably the best 6.5 million player. He has not left my lineup at all. I've had him this entire time. Once I started building this kind of squad. I really like him for game week 4-5, Sunderland, West Ham. I even like him really against Forest and Aston Villa. And I don't even hate him against Chelsea. I really like Ismail Sarr as a pick, and he just really works at the price point. Next up, another 6.5 in Ndai. Now, Ndai is probably the newest addition to this team. Here is probably where, you know, if I had to go for 4 million keeper and not bench boosted, maybe this Ndai pick would have been a Rodgers at 7 million. I did have Kudus for a bit, but the way Tottenham's set up, I'm not sure Kudus will start every game yet. I think he will, but it's one of those risks I didn't want to take. This could definitely have been a Kudus, but in terms of limiting new signings, it's kind of the choice I had to make. I also think Everton's fixtures in the beginning are really good, and having Everton coverage feels nice. He's also on pens. I did have Dewsbury Hall for a bit at 5 million, but with the signing of Jack Grealish, I think Dewsbury Hall will be pushed further down the pitch and not be as offensive. So I go for double 6.5 shit is the answer to that Celtic. I've gone for Sarr and Ndai. Start Ismail Sarr or Rangers? I would start Rangers and bench Sarr, I think. But it's pretty close. I wouldn't want to bench either of them, if I'm honest. I would like to start either. For a while, this Ndai pick was a 5.5. It actually was Rangers, or Caicedo, or Anderson, right? Those are the three 5.5s I've had. But that was when I had Liverpool. When I had Van Dijk in defense, I had a 6 million instead of Anderson. So downgrading Virgil van Dijk to Anderson has allowed me to upgrade one of my 5.5s to Ndai and then upgrade one of the keepers, right? So Virgil, I don't know why I called him Liverpool. So Ndai, really excited about him. I'm excited about having both 6.5s here. I don't know if it's that amazing team building wise, because if either of them fails, who do I transfer him to? But I think it's kind of easy because I could just downgrade either Sarr or Ndai to a 5.5 in either Rangers or Caicedo or Anderson, and then use that money to upgrade something else if I need to. So I don't necessarily hate having two 6.5s here. And if I downgrade something else, I could always upgrade them to a Morgan Rodgers or similar, right? And also if Kudus starts smashing it, I can bring Kudus in like game week 3 after their steady fixture. And Kunku on his way to Bayern. Interesting. FPL Hayden says, Curtin Sanchez, I really want Rodgers. Would you do Sarr and Evan Nilsson to Rodgers and Strand Larsen? I'm not a huge Strand Larsen fan, to be honest. And I'm still not 100% sure Rodgers is starting. I think if you have Watkins, which you do, I think it's fine to not start to not have Rodgers. Though I understand wanting him, I also really wanted Rodgers. I had Rodgers until Rodgers got injured. He was in all of my drafts, and I considered him near essential. Just because of that, since I'm bench boosting game week 1, I really want a starting player, and I'm not sure he gets 90 minutes or even starts. Maybe he comes off the bench. He's been in training. But, no surprise, Mohamed Salah. He's my pick among the premiums. I think he's the best captain game week 1, for sure. And the fixtures look pretty good. Arsenal game week 3, not fantastic, obviously, but I think Newcastle away is fine. Burnley in 4, Everton in 5, Palace in 6. It's just a safe pick, man. It's just a safe pick. What can I say? I don't think you can cover Salah with the Florian Wirtz. Spoiler alert, I don't have Wirtz. Is it possible that I'll own Wirtz later in the season? I think it's almost a guarantee that I'm going to have Wirtz at some point this season. Maybe Wirtz can cover Salah. Who knows? But to start the season, as I talked about earlier, I want safe picks. I want a bench boost that works. And then I'll wildcard in game week 8. That's my plan. So, and final pick is probably the spiciest. 2.8% own Pape Matar Sarr from Spurs. He is my 5 million of choice. This was Dewsbury Hall for a while, and this was Kudus, but I've switched it over to Ndai and Pepe Matar Sarr. His performance in the Super Cup convinced me. I think he's He's definitely a surefire starter in that team. Until they sign another attacker, he's playing quite far forward in almost like an advanced 8 role. And he picked up like 16 DEFCON points. And it's really funny to have both SARs. Nixie called it, yeah. I really enjoy having both SARs on my team. This is going to be my benched attacker most weeks, right? But in the first week, he plays Burnley at home. And it's perfect for the bench boost, right? So I will be playing Palmer, Sar, and Dai Salah in a 3-4-3 lineup most weeks with Pepe Matasar as my first or second sub. Granted, when I wildcard, I don't think I'll have him. I think I'll either then downgrade to a 4.5 to free up funds somewhere else, or upgrade to a 5.5 that looks better. I think Rangers, for example, looks better. But for 5 million, and I needed the money, I've squeezed out everything in this team to get the picks I want. A 5 million midfielder was the right choice for me, and it was between Dewsbury Hall and Sar. But I prefer Ndai over Kudus, but I didn't want to double up either of the two. I don't want to double up Everton attack. I don't want to double up Spurs attack, so I wanted to diversify a bit. That's my midfielders. I'll talk about some of the obvious omissions in a bit. But let's move on to talk about the forwards. First one, no surprise, Watkins. Great preseason. Nailed on. If Gyökeres smashes it, it's a super easy transfer from Watkins to Gyökeres. I think Gyökeres is the second best option at 9 million, of course. I really wanted to have Gyökeres in my team for a potential captain in game week 2. But, I mean, Watkins, I think he's too lowly owned. 27.5% is crazy to me. Watkins, it's super boring. Everyone has him, but I think he's a perfect pick to start the season. Do I think I'll have him after game week 7 in the wildcard game week 8? I actually don't think so. I'm not a huge Watkins fan. I just really like him to start the season because of Villa's really good fixtures. I mean, they don't play any of the traditional top 6 now. I know, Spurs is 17th. But then in game week 8, they play Tottenham, City, Liverpool, Bournemouth. Perfect time to sell them. It's just it's literally it's such an obvious pick. Super boring pick. Everyone has him, but yeah. Gaming with Cobble Monster says, do you like Gakpo as a pick? I do like him as a pick. I don't like him to start the season though, because I don't know where Ekitike plays, how often Gakpo plays. I think Gakpo could be good, but I need to see Liverpool play a bit before I pick him. I think he's a minutes risk for sure. So he's not my. I mean, he's definitely on my radar, but I haven't actually had him in any draft I've made. Hey Rob, welcome. FPL and F1 Fantasy. Get a content creator that can do both. Well, I'm called Rain Fantasy and not Rain F1, so. But yeah, I am a huge fan of Gakpo. He was great at the end of last season. If he can continue that form, I mean, he could be unstoppable. Man U 15th, yep. I'm going for Fulkrug. I think Fulkrug is a really underrated pick. I think he has rightfully picked up some steam in the past week or so. But he is not in my draft, spoiler alert. Because the next pick is Evan Nilsson. Now, Evan Nilsson has been in my draft for a long time, and I really wanted to pick him. Liverpool away in the first game week. He's on my bench, but I'm bench boosting. Liverpool's defense didn't look fantastic against Crystal Palace in the Community Shield. And after that, I mean, Wolves, Tottenham away, Brighton at home, Newcastle at home, Leeds away, Fulham at home. Fantastic run of fixtures. With Kluivert out, looking to be out for the first couple of game weeks. Evan Nilsson looks to be on pens. I've had Evan Nilsson in a lot of drafts. If you watched my initial stream when the game launched, I had Kluivert in my team, and Kluivert has just transformed into Evan Nilsson after Kluivert picked up that knock. I think it was in training. I really like the Evan Nilsson pick. I think he's my least owned player that I have, only owned by 2% of players. I think that's mind-blowing to me. I see nothing to indicate that Bournemouth's attack has slowed down. Sure, they've lost an entire defense, but I'm not picking Bournemouth defense, I'm picking Bournemouth attack. And again, after that Liverpool fixture, I think it's just the Liverpool fixture, which is arguably the most difficult fixture of the season, right? Liverpool away, is scaring people off. and then people aren't picking him. But he's been in almost all my drafts for the last month. He's not the player I've switched out. The players so far, you know, I haven't shown you the final one, that haven't changed at all. Cells have changed to like Sanchez back and forth. Areola has never been, you know, nailed on. I've had Konsa in every draft. Pedro Porro in, you know, for a long time. But, you know, even he's switched. Nico Williams switched. Anderson has switched. Diouf has, you know, been pretty locked. It was Van Bissaka, now it's Diouf, right? But the only ones who've been in almost all my drafts, Palmer, Salah, Sar, Watkins, Evan Nilsson. Is there a rain league? Yes, there is. Check the description. It's in the description. So, also, I forgot to check over on... sorry, JC, welcome. I forgot to check Twitch chat. But yeah, Reindeer is... I do want to pick Reindeers just because of his name. Is there... Oh, yeah. You're blind. It's fine. It's fine. It's fine. I've been on the wrong screen on my left monitor. So, final pick. Any predictions? Can you guess what the final forward is? Do you? No. I'm bench boosting first week, remember? Xiao Burns says you should pick a 4 million goalkeeper for bench, like Dubravka saves you 0.5 mil. But I'm bench boosting Xiao. So, I really dislike Dubravka as a pick because he's going to drop in price when all the casuals sell him. Amen. How much money left? That's for you to figure out. So, I agree. If I wasn't bench boosting week 1, Xiao, I would 100% have a 4 million goalkeeper that never played. I wouldn't have Dubravka, I would have someone else. So this is just because I'm bench boosting, and then I'm gonna, you know, after the wildcarding game week 8, I'm definitely just having one playable keeper. Gotta be Haaland, right? Cannot afford Haaland with this draft. Ultra Tech says Bowen, good guess, but I'm actually short money. I cannot afford Bowen. Larson, no, I don't really fancy Strand Larson as a pick until I've seen how Wolves play without Cunha. Ekitike is a really good guess, but it's not Ekitike. It is Xiao Pedro? No, it's not Xiao Pedro. I'm playing Palmer, and I don't trust his minutes. There we go. Nixie got it. It is Chris Wood. Kind of boring pick. I know he has outperformed his data, but those opening fixtures speak for themselves. I can definitely bench him in week 4, or sell him in week 4 if I want to, if he's underperforming. But for those first 3 games, I don't think Brentford has like clicked yet. But yeah, Chris Wood is my final pick. So this is my draft, and if we now go over to my team here, we can play the bench boost. So this is my team then. What do you think? Any questions about my team? I think the team's good. I think it's a really good bench boost team. I think it rotates pretty well going forward. With Evan Nilsson playing from week 2 onwards, having second Sar on the bench. I'm relatively flexible in terms of which players I can bring in, apart from a 6 million defender. I have a mix between super meta picks, like, you know, Watkins 27%, Palmer owned by 63% of players, Salah owned by 54%, and some real left field picks like Evan Nilsson being only owned by 2%, Sar is only owned by 5.4%, Matisar is only owned by 2.8%, Anderson's only owned by 2.9%. There are a few picks that I wish I could have had. Rodgers has always been on my radar for 7 million. I just can't barely stretch it to that with me wanting to have a playable keeper for my bench boosts. If Dubravka was guaranteed to play, I probably would have had Dubravka. But I'm just picking Areola here. What do you think about Fulkrug? And is he much worse than Larson? I think Fulkrug is better. I would rather pick Fulkrug than Strand Larson to start the season, if I'm honest. Actually, Crow. So I really like Fulkrug as a pick. Chris Wood, I'm not super sure about at 7.5. There are options I could do. Do you plan on using an early wildcard? I plan on using the wildcard game week 8. This team is going to last me until game week 8 with as few transfers as possible. As you might have noticed, there's very few new signings on this. It's only the youth, right? So the team is very, very secure in minutes playing time. So Chris Wood could be a Mateta, but what's really good about Chris Wood is, right, I can play Chris Wood for 1, 2, and 3 against against Brentford, Palace, and West Ham, and if he is really underperforming, Nottingham Forest has not looked good in attack really in preseason, I could bring Mateta in for game week 4 when they play Sunderland and West Ham. So that's like one transfer that I'm looking to do in the future. Mr. Venice is Tosin or Diouf. So for me, it's Diouf. Diouf is the only new signing I have in the team, but I think Diouf is nailed on to start. Tosin looks nailed on for the first 3 weeks, but what happens after that, I'm not really sure. So I don't want Tosin because I don't want him to lose his spot, and I think he could lose his spot after the first couple of weeks. Ndai and Wood to KDH and Gyökeres. So the reason I don't want to do that is, again, being nailed on, right? Sure, Gyökeres looks good, but he's a new signing. I don't want to risk it just yet. KDH looks likely to start, right? But might get pushed further down the pitch with the Grealish coming in. And Everton are looking at another offensive signing. So I think there's a lot of options for Everton in the forward line, and Ndai is the one that looks nailed on. So I prefer Ndai and Wood to KDH and Gyökeres, and also because I already have a 5 million, I would not do that. I could see why you want to go for that though, ultra attacking. Hey, would you pick João Pedro plus Verts or Gyökeres plus Gakpo? I think that's really close because you're talking a lot of unknowns here. I mean, João Pedro, Verts, and Gyökeres are all new signings, so I'm trying to avoid new signings personally as much as possible, and that you can really see that in this draft, right? Gakpo I think is good, but again, I would probably pick João Pedro plus Verts, if I'm honest. But I'm just, scarred from Nkunku from last year, so that's why I'm not picking João Pedro. JC on Twitch says, bench boost on game week 1, how much points are you expecting in the bench? Not too much, to be honest. I'm expecting... let's go over to the team pick. So, the team on the bench is Areola, Evan Nilsson, Konsa, Anderson. I'm hoping for at least 1 clean sheet. I'm expecting Konsa and Anderson to both be close or get the DEFCON points. I'm hoping for a clean sheet for West Ham, which is why I'm doubling up on their defense for this first game week with Areola and Diouf. And then Evan Nilsson could definitely go out and get a goal or get an attacking return against Liverpool. Liverpool's defense did not look super solid in the Community Shield. So there's potential for points here, but I'm hoping to get... If I get 15 points, I'm happy. You could swap the bench defense. You have better game week 1 fixtures. I would actually... I mean, this... If I wasn't bench boosting, this is what I would do. I would play Diouf, Pedro Porro, and Nico Williams, and then I would have Konsa and Anderson on the bench. That is how I would line it up if I wasn't... if I would play Sar over Evan Nilsson probably also if I wasn't benching. The question is that I'm rethinking the Areola pick slightly in the moment here, because in game week 4 they have Spurs at home, and then in game week 7 they have Arsenal away, and those are kind of the weeks where I would like to, it doesn't rotate really well with cells. So if I'm picking a 4.5, shouldn't I pick someone who rotates better? But I don't think there's too many options at 4.5 million that look great. What are the 4.5 million options that also have a good fixture in game week 1? I want someone who has a good 4.5 million goalkeeper, 4.5 million starting goalkeeper with a good fixture in 1, 4, and 7. Does that exist? Let's see. Goalkeepers for 4.5 million. What is Verbruggen's fixtures? Fulham at home in the first one. Bournemouth away in 4 and Wolves away in the 7. Could go for that. What's Jose Sa looking like? He has City at home in the first one, and then Newcastle away now. And then there's like Kelleher with a slight knock. Game week 4 Chelsea, game week 7 City doesn't really work either. Yeah, there's like no real 4.5 that like works super well with rotation. So I think that's why I picked Areola, because it's a good game week 1 fixture when I'm bench boosting, and then I can play him in game week 4, and then like 7 I can definitely start cells against Newcastle. So much budget on the bench. I'm probably going to wait till AFCON game week 8. Yeah, there's a lot of budget on my bench with this team for sure. I'm well aware of that. But imagine then, like in future game weeks, this is what it's gonna look like. So realistically, like downgrading would free up another like 1.5 million, right? 0.5 for this, 0.5 from this, and then 0.5 from this, because I would want to have one 4.5 million defender on the bench, right? So the amount of money on my bench like this is only 1.5 million, right? And I think that's worth it for 2 reasons. 1, for the bench boost, and 2, just for the security and having options going into like the start of the season. So if someone gets injured, I don't have to like rush and make transfers, right? I would have options to play with. So I agree that there's a lot of budget on my bench. That's not usually how I play the game, but considering I want to pop the bench boost immediately, that's how I'm going to play it. And then in game week 7 or game week 8, sorry, when I wildcard, I'm clearing my bench from all the budget. I'm getting a 4.5 million either forward or midfielder for sure that doesn't play, that just sits there. A 4 million goalkeeper that never plays, that just sits there, and a 4 million defender that like hopefully plays, maybe Steve of Burnley. And then just having one 4.5 million defender as like my bench option to come in. Where's Chesko? I am not picking any United players until the wild card. I'm really interested in Dorgu as a 4.5 million option, and I think he will be in my team at some point this season, but not to start the season. Murillo, Gakpo, and Anderson, or Nico Williams, Rodgers, and Tarkovsky. I prefer the second lineup there, because I'm unsure about Gakpo, how much he plays. But I think it's pretty close. But I also prefer... it kind of depends on what the rest of your team looks like, right? Also, if you're having a 5.5, I would prefer Milenkovic over Murillo, if I'm honest. And I would prefer Pedro Porro over both of them. So it depends on what kind of price point you want your defender to be at, and your midfielder if you want a 5.5. So yeah. But yeah, I have a lot of options with this team. The one thing is, like, how would I potentially get to like a Florian Wirtz? That looks pretty difficult. Nico over Aina? I think so, yeah. Sar 6.5 or Strand Larsen? I prefer Sar. I'm not a huge Strand Larsen fan. He's quite low down my list. I've not considered him to start the season. I think Strand Larsen could be good. Don't get me wrong. But I want to see how they play without Cunha. I'm worried about Wolves' attack this season. Can you get Colapinto in? I think it might be available soon. That's really funny, Pete. That's really funny. Make sure to like the stream if you haven't, if you're on YouTube. Change concept to Van de Ven. I don't fancy Spurs defense. I mean, I fancy Spurs defense in Pedro Porro. I don't know if I fancy them enough to double up on them. And also, I need to bench the Spurs defense in game week 2 when they play City. So, for game week 2, I mean, Anderson plays United at home. So I think I really like Van de Ven as an option. Again, I think I might own Van de Ven later this season, but he's very highly owned. If Spurs defense starts off poorly, I think he can lose a lot of budget. I think Pedro Porro at 5.5 million looks really good, both for attacking returns and defcon. So I've tinkered with Van de Ven in there, but I just don't want to double up on the Spurs defense. Another defender that I've had a lot is Richards from Crystal Palace. And I have considered him quite substantially. But I just slightly prefer Anderson to just have. The Kuiper I've also looked at for sure. But not like necessarily super fancied. The question, should I have Areola over Bruggen? I'm unsure. Yeah, but the Kuiper is definitely on my list as well. He's someone I've considered. In preseasons, Forrest barely scored any goals. Is it a good idea to go with Wood? Yeah, that does worry me slightly. But for his price point, let's look at forwards, right? Price. Also, you can't see what I'm doing over here, so let's just scoot that over here. Ekitike too expensive, 8.5. Bowen at 8 million I had for some time. But if I'm gonna bench boost, I can't have Bowen. Havertz, I don't trust his minutes. Wissa, probably getting sold. João Pedro is an option, but I don't fancy to start with João Pedro because he's a new signing. And that is a bot that is getting banned. There we go. You can go Pedro or go Guille and upgrade a midfielder. I don't think Guille necessarily starts. So in the bench boost plan, I don't like Guille. I think Guille is definitely going to drop to like 4.3 million when he doesn't play and doesn't score any goals. And the cash also all sell him. Richarlison for a 1 week punt. Too much Spurs. Don't want that. What about Bowen? Definitely I've had Bowen in multiple lines. But I think for this, Alex, why are you limiting yourself to bench boost game week 1? Well, for two reasons. One, because I like having a bench with a lot of playable players to start the season, which gives me options to save up a lot of transfers initially. I like playing safe to start the season. And with bench boost game week 1, I get it out of the way. I think it's going to be difficult because I'm the type of player that I am. I hate the bench boost as a chip, and I hate building my team around it mid-season. And I'd rather just use the value of the chip now, and then once I wildcard, I can then literally remove all the money from my bench. Guille will have dropped 0.2 million, Dubravka will have dropped 0.1 million by game week 8, so I can get them for super cheap, get even more money into my attack, into my starting lineup. So it's a combination of me already wanting players on my bench that play just in case of injuries or things like that to start the season and be able to save some transfers, because I like having like a buffer of like 3-4 transfers the way I play. So it's a combination of that, me getting a second bench boost, right, and getting it out of the way. So that's why I've locked myself into it. That's like, I didn't have it the entire time, I will say, Dunatov. I've definitely played around with having like a 4.5, and if I had a 4.5, it wouldn't be Guyu, by the way. It would be someone who definitely no one will ever have or sell. It would be one of those that has like a 0.1% ownership from a team that I'm not, interested in. Same goes if I had a 4.5 million midfielder. But with like João Pedro, I have Palmer, so I have some Chelsea coverage there. I agree that Wood is an issue, because Nottingham Forest haven't scored goals in preseason. But it's a very easy switch in game week 4 to Mateta if he's bad first 3 game weeks. And I think João Pedro is way too highly owned and he's going to drop in price because people are going to sell him. I don't think he can perform to everyone's expectations. So I think João Pedro is someone who will drop in price if he underperforms. And I also think João Pedro is the type of player who can get subbed at 55 minutes for Liam Delap, right? And I don't know, maybe João Pedro will play 80 minutes every game and he's a super good pick. But I don't know that yet, and I want that. I want the safety, and I know Chris Wood is going to start this season. But Chris Wood is definitely like, if I'm making any transfers over the first 7 weeks, which I will be, of course, I'll not lock myself into saving up for five free transfers. I'll just try and not make transfers if I can. With Chris Wood, he is like one of the players that, like, if he does not do anything for the first 3 weeks and for his attack, truly look dreadful, I'm selling Chris Wood in game week 4 to probably Mateta. But yeah, Šeško also exists at 7.5 million after their horrid run start to the season, like from game week 9 onwards. Maybe if United have a really good start, I can pick them. I was considering Solanke for a bit, but he didn't start in the Super Cup, so I don't know why I would go for him. Yeah. Do you have a league? Yes, it's in the description on YouTube. So if you go to YouTube, just check the description. There's a code for it there. It's 10 minutes till the deadline. And alternatives go Wood to Welbeck and Evan Nilsson to Bowen. Still good for bench boost. That is fair, but I prefer Evan Nilsson to Bowen. So I just really like Evan Nilsson. Is like he is my little gem of a differential pick. He's owned by 2%. I think he's going to be really good this season. I've seen nothing to indicate that Bournemouth's attack would get worse. I mean, obviously their defense has been absolutely demolished, but I think they're going to be good. I think Evan Nilsson is on pens if Kluivert doesn't play. So I just really like Evan Nilsson as a pick, and he's so lowly owned to start the season, and I think he's fine on the bench boost. So I'm pretty locked in on the team. That like one player is maybe like Areola to Verbruggen in the final 10 minutes, but I kind of like doubling up on the West Ham defense against Sunderland to start the season with a bench boost, because like it's a high upside play, right? And if it doesn't work out, it doesn't work out, and I probably don't play Areola in any week except for game week 4 anyway, which is at home to Spurs, which they could definitely pull out a clean sheet from. We're saying last 3 head-to-head games of Bournemouth and Liverpool, Bournemouth haven't scored. That is a valid stat, and I think the reason people aren't picking Evan Nilsson or Bournemouth playing in general is because they're scared of that Liverpool away fixture, which I agree. It's the worst fixture in the game, right? Liverpool away. I just really like game week 2 to game week 7. So even if I wasn't bench boosting, I've had Evan Nilsson on the bench. So would you rate a no Haaland and Salah draft by any chance? Later on in the season, maybe. To start the season, no. I've not seen, because a lot of the players that people want to get in when they go on no Haaland and Salah draft go against my philosophy as a player. They're picking like Florian Wirtz, they're picking Gyökeres, they're picking, right? The one player that I wish I could, that I could get in if I wasn't playing Salah is like a Bukayo Saka, right? I could go like Palmer, Saka plus something else. And I do wish I had Salah. I tried to get like a Salah Palmer. I don't know if I have time to like show this, but like if I wasn't wildcarding, or if I wasn't bench boosting, there is a world where I would have like just started Evan Nilsson first week, had a 4.5. I'm not gonna confirm the transfer here, right? But let me just get team selected by. I had a lineup where I did this and like downgraded. So imagine I wasn't bench boosting. This, like something like this would have actually been my play. To have Palmer, Saka and Salah to start. So this is like my option where I'm not bench boosting. It wouldn't be Guiu and Dubravka, by the way, because they're too highly owned. I don't like starting with benched players that are too highly owned, because casuals that play a lot and make like 14 transfers a week, taking infinite negatives are going to absolutely tank their value to start the season. So I wouldn't start with Giyu and Dubravka. They're just I would actually go to 4 million. If you're benching Giyu and like, there's no reason to have Dubravka and Giyu to start the season. I am super adamant on this. I think it's a mistake unless you're like bench boosting, expecting them to get points. But if you're like, if you're picking a 4 million forward, I would go over here. Can you see it? I would go over here to like Tyrer from Everton. 4 million, owned by 0.1% of the game. And I would pick like, you can't see him now. I've removed Wood, but nope, that's the entire overlay. Removing Wood for like let's see, 4.5 million team selected by, and then just scroll all the way down and pick like Chiwome, which doesn't even play for Wolves anymore. Giyu may become a starter, sure, and I think he probably will become a starter by like game week 5, but by that point he'll be sold by half his managers. He'll drop to 4.3 million, and I can pick him up for 4.3 million in game week 8. Don't get me wrong, and when Dubravka starts for Burnley, I think he's a fantastic second goalkeeper. But to start the season, I think both of them are horrible, and I would not have them on my team. Because why would I? Right? They're going to drop in price. Start something else. You're not playing them anyway. That I'm super adamant about. I think that's... Please invite Quake, I'm stressed. Marmouche over Fernandez and transfer swap them for week 2. Is that daft? I would just play Fernandez for both. And save a transfer, if I'm honest. Yeah, I think that's what a lot of people are thinking, Dunatov. Like, you won't sell him anyway. But then you can technically like gain 2 million when you wildcard in game week 8 and buy him then. Or 0.1 million. Because I do think Dubravka is going to drop to 4.5. So I would do something like, this is my other draft looked something like this, and then this would be to captain Saka in game week 2 against Leeds at home. So this is actually my second second option draft. And then with this team, I could do like a I would also do like a Sar up to like Rangers, and I would do like Anderson down to a 4 million like Steve. So if I'm not bench boosting, I think this would be my team. But I'm kind of happy to get the bench boost out of the way. So I think this would be my team if I wasn't bench boosting. I really like having Palmer, Saka, and Salah. That seems super good. And I could always just sell Saka in game week 3. Because like their 3, 4, 5, 6 is awful. I could sell Saka in game week 3 to either Bruno Fernandes or Florian Wirtz or something similar. Or downgrade him by a ton and upgrade something in defense and get a 6 million defender in there. Like downgrade him to, I don't know, like a Rodgers or whatever. Someone that's performing well in midfield. So I think this team is really good. I think Saka's kind of, underpicked that way, but I'm going to reset my team because... so that is actually what my team would look like if I wasn't bench boosting, but I'm bench boosting week 1. We only have 3 minutes now. Let me make sure that the team is locked in. Everything is correct here. Yep. Looks good. Man U overhyped. Still got Onana. I think Man U is an avoid until later in the season, probably. From my team, would you go Gyökeres or Ekitike and need a new shiny toy? I would... if you have Salah, I would go for Gyökeres, because then you can captain Gyökeres against Leeds. Yeah, I definitely agree with Donatov here. I think Bruno is a fantastic pick. I wish I could have Bruno in my team. He's just at an awkward price point. And I think, yeah, he's like the man for United, right? Personally, though, I'm even though I'm wearing the United jersey, I'm really interested in Dorgo. I'm really interested in Bruno. I'm really interested in both Cunha and Mbeumo further down the line once we see how they actually play. But to start the season, I'm avoiding them both. All right. But yeah, I think Giyu and Dubravka are both mistakes, in my opinion. I think not bench boosting is totally fine. But I think if you have a 4 million keeper, you should have someone that doesn't play, and then you just buy Dubravka when you wildcard in Game Week 8 anyway. Because I do think Game Week 8 is by far the best time to wildcard. Unless you get, like, you know, you have a really bad start to the season, you want to wildcard in, like, Game Week 4. I think Game Week 8 is the best time to wildcard, just because it's, like, right in the middle of the first half, considering you get 5 free transfers by Game Week 16, which is like a half wildcard. Playing wildcard Game Week 2? Interesting. That's super aggressive. Is it to target budget games, I assume? When things are very volatile in the market. Naturally pretty aggressive. Gotcha. Yeah, I'm the opposite. I'm very defensive to start the season. Very defensive. Which you can tell by my team. Because, like, literally, out of my team, I have one new signing, and that's Diouf. And before this, it just was Van Bissaka, but I'm just sure that Diouf is going to play. So I think Diouf is just a better option than Van Bissaka for that West Ham defense. And he's, you know, not as highly owned, so he's less likely to get absolutely demolished by casuals. I really don't want to lose too much budget to start the season. I lost quite a lot of budgets at the start of last year. It's literally 1 minute to the deadline. Holy. This stream went by so fast. I wish I had time for like a 2-hour stream today, but... My captain and vice captain player, both Liverpool players, may be dumb. No, I think that's fine. I mean, usually it's, your captain is the only thing that matters, right? And like, if you captain Salah, it's just gonna be Salah. It looks locked, right? Deadline over. What a deadline stream! What a team! I'm happy with my team. I think it's relatively safe. I'm looking to roll as many transfers as possible. We'll see how Chris Wood performs. Again, not sure about that as a pick, but like. First 3 games look fine, and then if Forest attack looks awful, he's a sell in Game Week 4. But I'm trying to roll Game Week 1, you know, roll a couple transfers here to start the season. No Salah or Haaland in my team, no. That could either go really well or really poorly. We'll see. Mind rating my team real quick? What's your team? I mean, don't have time before the deadline because deadline is up, right? Wait, you can still make transfers? Huh? How's it going? Best of luck. Best of luck for the season, guys. Verbruggen, Kukureya. Oh, I like the Kukureya pick. I think Kukureya is super underrated. Tarkowski, Porro, very much. A lot of money in defense. Saka, Palmer, Gakpo, Fernandez, Bowen, João Pedro, Watkins. Ooh, no Holland, Salah, yeah. But I mean, I think that it's probably one of my favorites non-Holland Salah drafts I've seen, I think. But you already know how I feel about, like, João Pedro, right? But, I mean, I like that you've gone, like, Palmer, Saka, Fernandez, at least. Because that feels safe. I like that lineup a lot. Has the deadline gone through? There we go. Deadline officially. Welcome to the 2025-2026 FPL season. Wow. Again, sorry for not much content this week. As I said before at the start of the stream, a big work project got moved from next week to this week, so I had absolutely no time. In terms of content on this channel, it all depends on how much time I have. I really want to make FPL content, don't get me wrong. But this is going to mainly continue being an F1 fantasy channel. I'm not dropping that for the life of me, right? And FPL content is gonna, you know, be in. It depends on how much time I have. But we'll see. Yeah. So, massive fan of you know, F1 fantasy is gonna stay the main thing on the channel for the foreseeable future. FPL is my OG fantasy sports that I've played for like 8 seasons or something like that now. So, yeah. We'll see how this season goes. I'm gonna try and improve from last year in FPL. I finished like 30k, 35 something. I didn't really look at the end because I was so mad that I lost like 3 game weeks. Went horribly for me. But last season was fun. This season's gonna be fun. We'll see more content to follow next week. So if you like this stream, make sure you like it on YouTube. Thank you so much. I'm gonna sign off now and keep an eye out, and maybe there's a video on FPL in the week. And next week as well, F1 fantasy videos will return. So thank you so much for watching. I'll end the stream now. This was fun. I'll see you around. Roast your team next time. I'll make sure to do that.